we got restrictions that we need to. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. uh, Things that we have to have. It's not because we're just trying to make life hard for you, but the Real Estate Commission and the board and the MLS all have their requirements. So we have to conform to what they want. So we'll be going through some of those type things and a few things that we're having a little bit of trouble with. Okay, and then as always, Rhonda and I are here to help. Now, I'm can go out and measure your square footage for you in your house. I can take your pictures for you. I can do all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to dot loop and the techie type stuff, then Rhonda is my go-to person for that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then at the end, we're going to just kind of have an open discussion, and I'd like some feedback on the meeting, with the Zoom meeting. And then we're going to present the Salesman of the Month. So that's going to be the agenda for today. So once again, we'll back up and go through the welcome. If you're here, welcome aboard. If you're not, and you see somebody that should be here, then tell them to make sure they get on the list to attend the next meeting, which will be next month. Okay, the industry and market update. Now that's kind of reading the tea leaves, and it almost changes daily. But we're heading into a whole new uh, marketplace when it comes to the market forces when it comes to supply and demand. We're going to be shortage. We're going to have a shortage on housing. There's already a shortage, and you can probably see it in the offers that you're getting on property. And good listings don't last very long; they go fast. So what that means is that we have a shortage of the amount of properties that are available out there, and we have a higher demand from buyers. So what that means is we're going to be heading toward where we were a couple of years ago, when you list a property at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 5 o'clock that afternoon, you may have two or three offers with some escalation clauses. And what that means is we're going to have to go through all the paperwork on every one of those offers, which means you're going to have to explain it to them on paper what the different offers are. I had one when we were in that market conditions before, where I had a property listed and I had six different offers on it. Three of them had escalation clauses. They were everything from an FHA to a VA to cash. And so trying to explain all those variables that were between those six listings got to be a challenge. And so finally, my seller decided I'm going to take the cash and run, because there were some iffy things on the higher offers. So get prepared, because that's coming back, and that's going to be because of the interest rates are going to be dropping. I think Trump is going to be finally get rid of the guy that's heading up the feds up there now, and put somebody in there that will do his bidding, which means dropping the interest rates, which means that all of a sudden somebody that's having to make like on a $300,000 house, having to make $3,500 per month payments on the property, will now drop down to almost half of that, or somewhere in between. So that's the market that we're heading into. The forms have gotten more and more complicated. So if you have a problem with any of them, I try to stay up to date on them. And so I'll do my best to try to explain it to you. Some of the things have to do with how you're paid on your commission, both as a listing agent and as a buyer's agent. And so we'll be going through that a little bit when I go through the education part about making an offer on a property. Uh, is is Rhonda on? Miss Rhonda,
Go to your next line.
can you talk about our Huntsville office? I see Miss, there she comes. There she is.
I had to get water for a baby.
Surprise. Okay, tell us what's going on in the Huntsville office.
It has been very, very cramped in there, but we are getting more rooms. So we're going to be spread out and have more room for the agents soon, hopefully by January.
Okay, good.
And also, I got that box of calendars you gave me. So if any of the agents, I'm planning on being at the Huntsville office around 10 Saturday, and I'm gonna get my little list and address some calendars to send out. If any other agents want to do that, they're more than welcome to meet me down there.
Okay, good. Yeah, if you're a new agent or one that hasn't had a transaction in a while, Rhonda puts on a wonderful class. She put on one a couple of months ago, and it was her and one other person, and they were eating like a dozen donuts and drinking 2 gallons of coffee. So she needs some people to attend. So so spread the word because Rhonda does do a very good job, and uh, yeah, I couldn't run the company without her. That's for sure. So anything else? They can still bring their paperwork to the Madison office, like somebody coming from Decatur or Madison or something like that. They can still drop off their paperwork here at the office in Madison, and then I can get that to you. You can write the check, and then I can have it available to them here in the Madison office. But we'll work all that out. So, anything else, Miss Rhonda?
Not that I can think of right now.
All righty. Well, are you spoiling that baby you're babysitting for?
I keep giving it food to shut it up, so we'll see.
That's the job of a grandmother is spoiling them, sending them back to their parents, and that's what's called revenge for all the things they did when you were raising them. So,
That's
all righty.
right.
Thanks a lot, Rhonda.
Okay.
All righty.
Don't forget to advance your slides.
Do what?
Advance your slides. Move your slides to the next one.
Move my slides to the next one. Okay. Uh, okay. Agent recruitment. We're there, right?
Yeah, so move the slide to that.
Okay. I see. All right, in the market and industry update, I see. I wasn't cued on moving the slides forward. That's why I'm still crawling like Rhonda's baby when it comes to Zoom meetings. So, all right, the NetLoop membership. What that means is you need to get on the NetLoop because Xeris is a member of it, and that's where you can see like commercial listings, commercial sales. If you run across, let's say, a small uh, uh, a commercial sale, let's say something like a eightplex down, uh, just don't get into the triple net leases and all those kinds of things because I'm not really qualified to evaluate those or tell you what the conditions are on it. The Builders Association. Now that's something we're also a member of, and you can be a member of it for $25, and that entitles you to all the perks that the Builders Association has. Like they have health insurance, they have just all kind of plans. Also, I got a letter from or emails from Davidson Homes, and they are looking for somebody to sit their houses on. I think it was Wednesday and Thursday. So that's a good opportunity to kind of rub shoulders with the builders because they're all the time looking for people to sit their houses, and you won't make a lot of money off of it. However, you'll be talking to people that are buyers. So once you go through the process of trying to sell the subdivision, the house, and all the amenities that go with that subdivision, they decide that it's just not for them. Then you can say, well, I'm an independent agent and I can show you any new or used property or existing house in North Alabama. So here's my card. If I can help you, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to work with you. So that's the kind of environment that you get when you're sitting a subdivision. So okay, so that's the Builders Association. Like I say, they have some nice meetings. They've got a Christmas party coming up, and just all kind of things. So go to their website, and if you're a member, then you're a part of that family. Okay, for agent recruitment, we can always use new agents. We've got room for probably about another 200 agents in the company. Uh, and what we're looking for are agents that are active and when it comes to buying and selling properties. So to do that, you can offer them a free CE class. Okay, just let me know who it is, and I'll get them a certificate or get their name before the class, and I'll make sure that they get in free. Whereas normally it's $25, and of course for Xeris agents it's free, and that has to do with the holding company as well. The people in the holding company have to renew their licenses just like everybody else. So they have to take the CE classes. So if you're in the holding company, then your CE classes are free. And really, the only cost that you have is just renewing your license every 2 years with the real estate commission. So that's the way it works in the uh, holding company. If you're not selling, let's say that things have really gotten to the point where you got a full-time job or have a lot of other things. Talk to me about going into the holding company because it's expensive paying all of those MLS dues and hard dues, the national dues, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to do that when you're in a holding company. The way that works is, let's say that you're somebody like a friend or a family member says, I want to sell my house or I'm going to be buying a house. Then you call me. I'll either take it myself or I'll give it to somebody else to handle. And then when it closes, 25% of that closing goes to the agent that made the referral out of the holding company. So that's the way that works. So if you're not doing anything, that might be a good option for you. And you can always go back and forth. In other words, let's say you go into the holding company and then somebody says, oh, I want to sell my $1 million house. And you want to work with them, then all you have to do is say, okay, I want to go back into the regular company. And it's just that easy. I think it's like $28 or something like that to make the change with the real estate commission. And by the way, I have changed the address, the office address, to the new address, which is 3776 Sullivan Street, Suite G, and that's Madison, Alabama, 35758. So I've made all that changes, and that normally it costs you that $28 or whatever, but I paid that for everybody, so you won't be getting a bill for when when your office changed for the change of address for your license. Okay.
There was a question about NetLoop. Can you give some more detail? Because they had not heard about NetLoop before.
Okay. Yeah. NetLoop is the commercial site, just like the MLS is for residential. This is the MLS for commercial properties. You can go there and I can give you the password because we are a member. So if you want the password to the NetLoop, then just let me know and I'll be happy to give it to you. I should have had it in front of me, but I don't right now. But just let me know if you need it, and I'll get it to you. Did that answer your question? Okay. All righty, here we go.
Hey, Walt,
Yes, ma'am.
will we need to go and do a change of address for our license or?
No, it's already done. I've
Okay.
taken care of that for you.
Okay, thanks.
So it's all done.
Okay, thanks.
And the company paid for it for you. So rather than you having to pay for that change of address on your license, and I'll be printing them all out. So if you want a copy of your new license, then it'll be available here within the next week or so. Or if you need it for any other purpose, but we have to print it out to put it in our book of everybody that's a member of Xeris. But because if the real estate commission comes in, let's say they come knocking on our door, which they can do, and say, okay, here's the list of agents that we show that you have. Show us where you have that same identical list of the agents. So I have to have a book that I can go through 1 by 2 by 3 by 4. In other words, go through the entire book to make sure it matches up with what they've got. If it doesn't, then I've forgotten what the fine is, but it's not a whole lot, but it's substantial. So anyway, that's the way the real estate commission works, and we're going to be having some signage on the outside on a marquee out on Sullivan Boulevard, indicating that the offices are in this office complex. Does that answer your question? Okay. All
Yes, it
righty.
did.
Go back.
Okay. I'm where I'm lost.
You
I
go
need
back one slide.
go back one slide. All right.
Talk about your upcoming CE classes.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me give you the. If you want to write these down, of course, these are free for you. But the January schedule is going to be on the 8th in the morning, and these will be from 9 until noon. So January the 8th will be from 9 until noon. I'm sorry, January 8th will be in the afternoon from 1 until 4. Okay, so that's January the 8th from 1 until 4 is a CE. The next day, January the 9th, again in the afternoon, will be the CE that next afternoon. The next one is going to be on the 20th, and that will be in the morning from 9 until noon. That'll be a morning class. On the 22nd of January, from 9 until noon, will be another continuing education. And then on the 27th, again, a morning class from 9 until noon. And it's going to be in the 47 Bank building, which is downtown. It's basically the first floor. If you've ever had a closing with, oh goodness, I forgot his name now, the closing attorney. I know it like my own, but anyway, it's in a building with a closing attorney and the bank itself. They've got plenty of marquees out there that show where it is. And I'm also going to be teaching.
What's the name of the bank building?
I'm gonna beat you.
I'm sorry, what?
What's the name of the bank building? Do you know that?
It's Bank 24, Bank 47. Bank 47. It's right across from the railroad depot, if you know where that is, on Church Street.
Yeah, I know
And
what
I'm
it
going to
is.
be teaching these 5 classes. If you take these 5 classes, this will be everything you need to renew your license the coming up September. That's going to be the closing for renewing for getting all of your CEs in is by the end of September of 1926. Okay, I'll be teaching risk management for brokers. I'll be teaching risk management for salespersons. I'll be teaching code of ethics. Now that's a twofer. Code of ethics, you're going to be able to fulfill the requirement with the National Association of Realtors for their ethics training. Plus, the Real Estate Commission gives you 3 CE hours for that. The two aren't related, but that's one that you can get your ethics training for the National Association of Realtors out of the way, and also get 3 hours of elective CE credit. The next one is going to be measuring square footage. Okay. And then after that is going to be new construction. That's the one that if you take that class, you're going to be real well qualified to sit a subdivision for a builder. So once you take that, you can call them up, and the Builders Association is aware of what I teach in that particular CE, and they're happy with it because it covers basically introducing the amenities of the subdivision, both internally. What I mean by that is like if it has a clubhouse, a swimming pool, a play area for kids, a dog walking area, hiking area, things like that. It covers all the amenities in that subdivision. And then you're also talking about the things that are outside the subdivision that are close by. Like, for example, a lot of people have pets these days and they want to know where the nearest veterinarian office is. You can talk about that. You can talk about where the emergency clinics are. There may be a hospital close by. There may be a drugstore, right around the corner. So you can talk about the amenities outside. And then after all that, then you're talking about the house itself. And I go through what things that buyers want to hear when it comes to the amenities that are in a house. And so that's what you'll be talking about in the introduction to new construction. So that's going to be the classes, and that's 15 hours. And if you have brokers on your license, you have to have risk management for brokers and risk management for agents. Now, but if you only have, and when I say only have, if the only thing on your license has salesperson, then you don't have to take the broker risk, but you can take it, and that will give you 3 hours of continuing of CE credit as an elective. So, any questions on what we're teaching? All righty. Okay, HAR has some nice classes. They do a real good job when it comes to putting on CE classes, when it comes to a lot of training type situations for, let's say, dot loop or cubicosa, whatever that thing is called, which, by the way, is not real good for measuring square footage of a house. If you need to measure the square footage of a house, that is an option for you to enter into the MLS, but it's a little bit when it comes to accuracy, it may be a little bit off. So, all right. What we're going to be talking about now, is everybody okay with everything we've covered so far? All right, everybody shaking their head, yes. All righty, here we go. And I am on my tricycle trying to Zoom, so I'm getting my assistant to come over here and tell me what I'm supposed to do next.
Hello, everyone. Don't mind me.
We see you.
Yay. There
Oh,
we
no,
go.
where'd you go?
Hey, we're showing the forms now. Can you see them?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right.
Get there.
Let me get back on my tricycle and start pedaling real hard. All right, this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the forms when you're making an offer on a property. These are, I'm going to take you all the way through to a completed contract. And I'm going to go through, and if you have any questions as I go through, stop me there. But now this is the new RECAD form. This is it comes from the Alabama Real Estate Commission, and this form can't be changed. This is a law that you have to present this anytime that you're in a substantial conversation with somebody, not when you just first meet them and you're introducing yourself, but let's say that they're interested in listing their house or they may be interested in buying a house. This is what you have to disclose to them. And it's real easy. Don't make it harder than it looks like. It's a 2-page form, whereas it used to be 1 page. But here's all you have to do to recad somebody. And here's all you have to do is say, okay, before we go any further, Alabama law requires that I tell you what services I can provide as a real estate agent. I can be a single agent. That means I'm going to favor you and represent you in all the negotiations we enter into, and I have a fiduciary duty to you. Uh, in another situation, I might become what's called a transaction facilitator. What that is you're not an agent. You're there just to make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. You can answer any questions for them, but you can't give them your advice or your opinion. So, as I say, you're just there more or less as a facilitator for the transaction. But if they want to ask you, what do you think we ought to offer on this house? You can't do that. You've got to be their agent to offer that. In some situations, you might become what's called a limited consensual dual agent. Now, what that means is you're going to be an agent for both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction with the written permission of the buyer and the seller. Now, the only restrictions you have representing two people in the same transaction is you can't tell the buyer what the seller is willing to take, and you can't tell the seller what the buyer is willing to offer. Outside of that, those are two red lines you can't cross. But outside of that, everything is just kind of your best judgment on whether you should be telling them or not. And you might get into some uncomfortable situations at times, but that's that's when you might want to switch over to being a transaction broker for one of the two. And I would normally recommend that you be an agent for the seller because you're going to be answering a lot of questions that people have about the property, and you can't tell them that if you're just their transaction facilitator. And then if you're worried about liability, then be a transaction facilitator for the buyer. Okay. Now stop. If you have any questions as I go through these, stop me and we'll try to get them answered right then. Okay, so I'm scrolling down the form, and like I say, that's all you have to do is what I just said. Tell them I can be a single agent, I can be a transaction broker, or I can be a limited consensual dual agent. At the end of it, when you kind of explained it a little bit, then just say, do you have any questions? Okay. At the end of it, you have to put your name. Can they see this arrow?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to put your name right here. This is your signature, and this is the date that you recatted them. You put the name of the consumer or consumers here, and they don't have to sign this. What I normally will say is when I'm down in this portion of it, and I've asked them if they have any questions, I'll just say, this is just for your information. You don't have to sign this, but if you'd like to sign where I gave you your PhD in real estate, then this is where you could do so. And I'll just move on from there. So that's RECAD. Any questions on RECADing? All right. We also now have what's called the ADOP. Okay, that's supposed to be our consumer. By the way, we need to change this address up here.
Oh, Lord.
This is where we're giving them the disclosure of what our policy, the Xeris policy, is when it comes to compensating of agents. So, and I think we can cut this down to where it's just one page, I hope. But this is what we've come up with. We've kind of cut and pasted out of our policy manual what our basically our RECAD for paying agents. So once again, they don't have to sign this, but you do. All right, this is where you sign down here and date it. And once again, if they want to sign, that's fine. If not, it's not necessary. Okay, here we get into, and as I say, if you're going to be representing somebody, I would strongly recommend that you be their agent. So we're going to go through setting up as a buyer's agent, and as a little bit of there's a difference between an agreement and a contract. Now I get into some meaningful discussions with even lawyers sometimes. They'll say there's no difference between an agreement and a contract. And I try to convince them that, yes, there is a difference. An agreement is something that you can just get out of unless there's something in there about, some money involved. You don't have to go jump through hoops to go get out of an agreement. But a contract is a legally binding contract that can be enforced by the legal system of the state. So that's the difference between the two. It's a huge difference, believe me. Okay, this is, excuse me. Okay, this is where we go through what I can do for you. Become well-informed of the buyer's objective, finding out what they want, advise buyers. You can read that as well as I can. Okay, this is what you expect from them. Okay, you're going to be providing personal and financial information to qualify for a buyer when it comes to financing and some other things in there that you're going to be asking them to do. Okay, this is where they're saying, okay, here's the property that I want and or the location. What I would recommend that you do is put in there MSA. That stands for Market Service Area. Okay. Or if you're making an offer on a property, put that property address in there. Okay. But if you're just going to be their agent looking for a house, then just put MSA in there, and that covers all the sins that you can get into. So that's basically, what a cute little baby over there with Rhonda. He's growing like a weed.
As
Okay.
long as you stay quiet.
Back to what we're here for. All right. So this is where you put in the property, or if you're just going to be representing them in an agent capacity, looking for a property, just put MSA. That stands for Market Service Area, the MLS Market Service Area. Okay, on any agreement, you have to put in a beginning date, okay, right here, and an ending date. So what I would recommend is if you're making an offer on a property, I would recommend about a 3 month. In other words, if you were beginning it today, that would be 12/9, 2025. And then if you want to make a 3 month, then that would be, and you just count, okay, this is this month, that's one, which would be January, February, March. Okay, so that would be March down here as the ending date. Now, if you haven't found a house, the reason I say put 3 months on there is if you haven't found a house in 3 months, something ain't right. Okay, either their expectations are way out of line, or the house is just not out there. So that's why I say, we need to if we rock along and we haven't found a house in maybe a month. We need to have a conversation about narrowing down what we're looking for or expanding whichever direction you need to go. Okay, here's where the all the changes came in. When the National Association of Realtors lost the lawsuit, uh, then they settled for I've forgotten what the number was, but it was for a large amount of money. But it changed the way that we have to do business. And basically, what the net of that judgment was that we cannot put anything to do with compensation in the MLS. Okay, we can't put in there what the seller is going to be paying. We can't put in there what the seller is going to be paying for a buyer's broker to bring a willing and able person to purchase the property, how they're going to get compensated. Uh, and they also put in there that they used to have this anyway, a non-refundable retainer fee. I don't recommend that you charge a retainer fee. I mean, hopefully you're going to be able to find them a house and get paid through the seller paying you. Okay, but that's what this first is right here. Okay, the retainer fee, non-refundable retainer fee to be paid by the buyer in the amount of, put that in there. The buyer is aware the retainer fee is defined by section of blah blah and is allowed to be paid by the buyer broker in addition to the brokerage fees defined in section 2B. In other words, that's in addition, that's just for you to represent them in finding a house. The commission is a whole separate type situation. Okay. Okay, the fee the buyer shall pay the broker. Now remember, you're the buyer's agent. We're talking about making an offer on a piece of property. This is you don't want to ask your buyer to pay you anything. Hopefully, you're going to be able to be paid what you're worth by the seller. So the fee the buyer shall pay the broker at the time of the closing of the transaction is equal to, put a 0 right there. All right.
Well, they tell us we're not supposed to do that.
Do what now?
By the new rules that came out, if you read below that, it says whatever you put there, that agent cannot make more than from anyone. So whatever that is what the agent's supposed to make, either from the buyer or seller.
Okay.
I know it's a stupid rule, but that's what they say. But I don't think they ever enforce it. Nobody's ever asked to see it at one time.
Okay. Well, this is where the buyer is paying the broker, and I don't recommend that you put anything in there. Okay. Okay. This is where, and when it comes to agreements and contracts, I have a saying that says, "The bold print giveth, and the fine print taketh away." Here is the bold print. Note, listing broker compensation and buyer broker compensation are not set by law or governed by any realtor association or any MLS participant and is fully negotiable. The Association of Realtors listing service does not fix, control, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what they're doing there is they're re-emphasizing that we cannot post what the commission is going to be. That has to be negotiated between the buyer and the seller and their agents, the ones that are doing the negotiating for them. Okay. Okay, C, if the buyer or any person, entity affiliated with the buyer enters into a contract to purchase the property falling under this agreement, whether the property has been introduced by the buyer broker or not, during the period of this agreement and within 30 days, if left blank, at the end of the term, uh, they're going to expect to be paid. If you've done everything that you've done to try to fulfill to get that house sold, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about making an offer on a property. Okay. All righty. Buyer acknowledges they're responsible for agreed upon compensation to the broker. All right. Purchasing a property not listed in the MLS services. Okay, this is where you might run across a for sale by owner. Okay, in the event a buyer makes an offer on a property not yet listed in the MLS, the broker may seek to obtain permission from the seller to enter into property information and transaction detail into the MLS upon closing. By initialing below, the buyer agrees to allow for such property and the transaction details included, but not limited to the address, sold price, seller paid, what the seller paid, in the closing costs, selling terms, and the name of the parties to be listed in the MLS for comparable sales analysis. This provision survives closing. What that means is, let's say you run into a situation where you might be in the middle of a divorce or something like that, and the wife says, "Look, I'm selling the house. Both my husband and I are on the deed, but I don't want him to know what I was selling the house for." Well, if it's in the MLS, you've got to disclose what that price is, who the people are involved, and everything like that. It's called non-public private information. So, okay. Agency disclosure, this just says that you've recanted them. Dual agency, we've talked about what dual agency means. Indemnification, that just says that they're holding you harmless from anything that, unless they're negligent or anything like that, they're holding you harmless from anything that might result in a lawsuit. Disclaimer, these are the same things that have been in all of them. Okay, this just says that you don't have to find hidden defects or anything like that. This just says that you're not going to be going to a trial by jury. You're going to be adjudicating it with what's called binding arbitration. Okay. Non-discrimination, that means you can't discriminate against anybody for any reason. This agreement and any addendum to it is the entire contract. There's nothing outside, either orally or written. It has to be within the four corners of this agreement. Okay, this is the name of the brokerage. That'd be Xeris there, the buyer's signature there, your signature here. If there's two buyers, that would be the other buyer over there. The buyer has deposited a check for this amount as a retainer fee and or a deposit. Okay, I put a 0 there because you haven't asked for it. This is the agent's initial, the buyer's initial. Then this information you should have already, but you can go ahead and put it on this form. Okay, everybody okay so far? If you're not confused yet, I'm fixing to make it real confusing for you. The finance sales contract. Okay. This is where you see a house and your client says, "Wow, I want to buy this house." Well, okay, we have to fill out an offer form. So it says a contract, but it's going to be until it's consummated into a contract, it's just going to be an offer. When you make an offer, to have a contract, you've got three things that you have to satisfy. You have to have an offer from a buyer to the seller. You have to have acceptance. Okay, that's where the buyer says, I'm in agreement with everything that you've offered on this property, so I'm going to sign saying everything is okay. And at that point, you don't have a contract yet, because the third part of a completed contract is delivery. You have to have delivery. That's where one of the agent binds it at the very end and says, this is the date that everybody has a copy of everything that they signed in this transaction. Okay, all of this is still the same right here. Okay, this is going to be your offer price. You're going to be putting your offer price in right there. If there's earnest money involved, put the amount of the earnest money right there. Okay, this is where you're talking about the mortgage. Now, it's important that you always put down what kind of mortgage product that you're going to be looking for. Conventional, you can normally close on a conventional loan sometimes within a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, if everything flows smoothly. FHA and VA are two other animals. Those, they have a lot of restrictions on there. FHA, it offers a low down payment, sometimes zero down payment, depending on the lender. VA, they are very, very strict when it comes to the condition of the property because this is VA money, Veterans Association's money that they're giving to or I shouldn't say giving, loaning to the veteran to purchase this property. And it's for there's no down payment on it. So, but it takes a while for FHA and VA. You're looking at probably about a month and just plan on, things go. That's if everything goes pretty smooth. Okay. This is the balance for the down payment, which you put in down here. Now, if this number and this number and this number doesn't add up to this number up here, your offer price, you've got something wrong. Everybody got that? Okay. All righty, let's get into the complicated stuff now. The settlement charges. And Rhonda, you may have to help me with this because I haven't gone through any of these kinds of calculations yet. So, buyer broker compensation. This is the person representing the buyer. Okay.
Okay.
Optional. Wow. You mean it's really optional whether I get paid or not? Okay.
Yeah.
In consideration of the purchase price being offered, the purchaser requests the seller to pay for the services provided by the buyer broker, assisting with the consummation of the agreement. That should be contract. And other terms in this purchase contract, seller agrees to pay to the buyer the amount of, okay, this is where, remember, this is your money. You're representing the buyer, and this is your money. And this is where you're saying that this is what I want the seller to pay me. Okay, this is my commission. Is that right, Rhonda? I think the baby's got her attention.
Being a little brat today.
Okay. Of the gross price of, and this should be the amount of the offer on there. Okay. Did you follow me, Rhonda? Did I present that correctly? Seller agrees to pay the buyer broker. I think I'm worth 3%. So I'm gonna put 3% in there.
Yes. And then you
Okay.
don't put anything on the other line.
And 0 over here. Okay.
Yeah, or you leave it blank. You leave that line blank.
Okay. But don't leave a blank space. Always put a dash or an NA or something in there. Because on any contract, you don't want to leave anything that
Or
somebody
put a
can
dash.
change.
I would put a dash in it.
Put a dash, X, NA, whatever you want to put there.
Yeah,
But just
'cause it's
don't
a
leave any
or.
blanks in any kind of contract that you're going to
Yeah.
end up consummating.
Yeah, because that
Okay.
says or. You either get paid a percentage or whatever fee you put in that blank.
Okay. Gotcha. But that should be 3% right there. That's what Xeris feels like you're worth. And so you should feel the same way. Can you put something else in there? Of course.
Yeah.
If you want to put 2%, you can, but I would recommend that you start off with a 3%. All right. If a seller concession is made available, the buyer shall determine which expenses to apply to the seller concession toward seller concession toward. Don't put any of your commission into the seller concessions. Okay, consider it completely separate because you don't want to get into a situation where, let's say, they're offering a concession of $5,000 and they're saying that includes your commission. Well, there's certain things that are going to have to come out of that $5,000, and your commission is going to be the last one. So let's say they get down to $4,500 they're spending, and that's whatever's left over is yours, and that's going to be like $500. And so you don't want to get involved in your commission being wrapped around the axle when it comes to the seller's concession. That's important. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Settlement charges. Okay, this is the complete separate type thing. Think of this as like you're paying their closing costs. Okay, part of their closing costs. This is so this is where if they say, okay, well uh let's see if we can get them to pay $5,000 for our closing costs. Put that in right there.
Mhm.
Okay. That can go by, that's they could use it for anything that you wanted. It could be for closing costs, it could be for you might have a concession for a carpet allowance or those kinds of things. Okay, the seller concession is available. Okay, here we go. Toward the buyer broker compensation. Put it is not. Okay, don't get confused and say, oh yeah, I want that to be a part of it. Because if they use up that $5,000 we put up here, then you're going to be out of luck. You won't be getting any commission. Everybody got that? Okay. Closing attorney. Remember, the closing attorney represents the seller. I mean, the
Mhm.
buyer. Okay. The
Really
buyer is
represents the lender. If there's a lender, it represents the lender.
uh, what was that, Rhonda?
I said if there's a loan, if there's a lender involved, the closing attorney represents the lender. If it's
Right.
cash, the closing attorney represents the buyer.
Okay. So what that means, to translate that out, that means that the buyer should be able to pick the closing attorney.
Mhm.
Okay. Survey. Okay. Survey, that's normally a part of anything. You want to make sure that the property is properly defined when you buy it, and then that you get a new deed that has that description on it. Okay, conveyance. This is where you are asking for a general warranty deed. General warranty deed is the highest form of ownership you can have in the country. But closing and possession, you want to put out, let's say that you're making an offer and it's on cash, then you could put that out for like maybe 2 weeks. I wouldn't recommend putting anything on there less than 30 days if you got a VA or an FHA loan, because if that date, see the word shall right there? Okay, shall means if that date isn't met, the contract is void. Okay, that's what that little word right there means. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're going to be within whatever time limit you put here, because if not, they're going to be out of the contract before you know it. All right. Agency disclosures. Okay, that's just everybody's used to that. Condition of the property just says that everything that has to do with heating, cooling, plumbing, gas, electric, and all the major appliances will be in normal operating condition. This is for anything that was built before 1978. You have to have a lead-based paint contingency addendum along with it. Wood infestation report, that's required by most every FHA and VA loan that I've ever been associated with. Sometimes it's up to the to independent lender or cash whether you want the termite letter or not. So, but it is going to be required. So I'd recommend you go ahead and get that done. Additional property inspections, do not ever put in an offer where you don't say, I do want to have a property inspection. If they say, no, I don't care about a property inspection, and they want you to check that after you explain what that means, then you get a hold harmless addendum. And if you need one of those, we got them available in the office. But what that says is that gets you off the hook. If anything comes up down the road and the buyer decides to start suing, this says that he did not want to have a uh, uh, property inspection, and you did everything you could to try to talk him into it. Then you may have some liability there. Final inspection. This is just something that when they go through the house, this is not an inspection type thing. This is I just looked at the house and it's in the condition that I want to accept the ownership of. And I normally meet my clients there about an hour before closing, 2 hours, whatever the drive time is. Okay, everything else is pretty much in any contract or any offer that you've made in the past. Okay, that just tells you the difference in the loans, legal notices, risk of loss. This is important right here. Okay, make sure that if you're listing a property, this is the very same words that are in a listing agreement. Make sure they understand that everything in here stays with the house. One of the big sticking points is window treatments. So let's say that you got $20,000 worth of custom blinds in the house, I mean, custom drapes. That means that if you didn't say that they don't convey, that means that they're going to be staying, which is going to be a big shock for your seller. So make sure you understand those kind of things. Everything else is pretty much the same, alternate terminology, signing, blah, blah, blah. Here, if there's anything that you want to add or take out or change in this hope to be a contract, this is where you make those changes. Like let's say that additional provisions you might want to put in there that the washer and dryer will remain and convey at no value. Okay, just things that you want to add to it. Or let's say that you want to change something in the contract. We used to be able just to kind of mark through it and everybody initial on the side. You can't do that anymore. You can't change the written form there because this was prepared by an attorney and it's legally binding. And if you start changing the words in it, then you're practicing law without a license. You don't want to do that. Bar Association will come after you if you start doing that. Okay. Remember, this is an offer. You get your purchasers to sign up there and everything. Okay. If the seller is okay with everything and they just initial here that they're going to accept it, then you're good to go. You're ready to go to closing. Okay. This is where the seller signs that they have accepted everything. This is where the binding agreement comes into play. This is either the listing, it could be either one of the agents can attest that everybody has a copy of everything that they've signed. Okay, this is just standard stuff here that you're used to. In other words, just who does what to who. Inspection addendum, as I say, try not to ever have a contract that doesn't have an inspection addendum to it. So these are just the terms of that. And this within so many working days. Okay, that means that if you put 10 working days in there and they don't do their inspection until the 11th day, then everything is going to transfer the way that it is, the condition it's in at the end of that 10th working day. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And everybody's favorite, the estimated closing statement. Now, there's a cheat sheet that's available to you that will kind of give you the usual and customary fees for, let's say, title insurance. And this is split between the buyer and the seller in our contract. Brokerage fees, what the buyer gets, what the seller gets, seller's agents. Wood infestation report. It'll just kind of give you a general number. Now remember, there is a one that will fill in the blanks for you. In other words, you go to that one that auto fills, and it will fill in the usual and customary numbers. That's an easy way to get it all filled out. Okay, that one will actually always take you all the way down to the estimated monthly payments on it. These have to be signed by the broker and the sales associate, and yeah, here we go. And the purchaser and or the seller on this side over here. Okay. Any questions on that? We just went through a lot of information, so I want to make sure that that especially if you're a little rusty or you're a new agent, that this and if any questions come up, that's what Rhonda and I are here for. Is what does this mean, or what do I put there, or what does this 5% mean here, and all that kind of stuff. So, any questions so far? All right, well, I'm gonna get off my tricycle and put my able assistant over here to put it back on the motorcycle. By the way, I appreciate everybody coming. This is spread the word that this is.
There you go. Get ready.
All right. Okay. Administrative things. We beat you to death with all this stuff, but it's stuff that we don't do just to make your life more difficult. We have certain things we have to do that can be audited by the Real Estate Commission, the MLS, the board, all those kind of things. Earnest money. Remember, earnest money. You got to get that to us as soon as possible. The MLS has one thing, and the Real Estate Commission has another. So we've got certain constraints on when we get that earnest money in the bank. communicate closing dates and changes. Let's say that a closing changes date or the closing date, let us know, because that's the way we can kind of expect you to be bringing in some paperwork. If you have any questions about Dot Loop, Rhonda is the guru on Dot Loop. As I say, I'm when it comes to techie stuff, I'm still in the weeds. So Rhonda can help you with Dot Loop. The Madison office, just consider it the same way. Just because we've moved locations, we're still a fully functional real estate office. You can bring your paperwork in here. We can pay you out of this office. And we've got the signs here for you. We've got everything that you need to be a functioning real estate agent. Oops. Okay, as always, if you need me to do drone photography for you or regular photographs, measuring the square footage of a house, and any kind of internet marketing, Cindy Hips will be more than happy to help you with your internet marketing. Any questions?
Is all this available, right? That you're recording this, and I assume Rhonda and Cindy on the Facebook pages of Xeris Family or Xeris Institute, it'll be available for other agents who weren't here.
Yes, ma'am. This is being recorded, so you can go back in the archives of this meeting and just pull up the date of the sales meeting or whatever, however you click on it, and this entire hour will be available to you for you to look at and go over again or go over for the first time. So, yes, good question, and that's the answer to it. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, are the classes date gonna be, Rhonda, you gonna send that to us? Or
I'm
print it
sorry.
out?
On the Xeris family, yes, I'll have that posted.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The various classes and what date they're going to be offered.
Yeah.
Since you gave the dates, but you didn't state which classes they were.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. So, but the classes will be set. It'll be on the Xeris family. So, but that answer your question, Bob?
Yeah, that answers, that's what I need.
Okay, all right. That'll be available. I hope to get them set by the end of this week. So,
Okay.
all righty, Miss Rhonda, you're on deck.
Okay, what am I doing on deck?
Tell us the salesperson of the month.
Oh, that will be Elliot.
Elliot.
And
All
and
right.
pronounce his last name,
Congratulations,
Elliot Havada.
In fact, I've got 2 closing checks for Elliot in the office. So, Elliot, if you're within the hearing distance of this presentation, your checks are waiting for you up in the front office. So, anyway,
I
congratulations.
don't think he has joined us, but he may look at it later. So,
Mhm.
Okay. All righty. Well, listen, I appreciate everybody coming. And if there's anything that we can do for you, then just let me know. But I hope you and your family and your friends have a joyous and happy holiday season, because I know that my family and I will be, and I hope y'all do as well. So,
and I've got one agent already that's going to come for Saturday. Donnie's coming. So if anybody else wants to send out any calendars for their clients, make sure, don't forget about Saturday.
all righty. Very good. Yeah, anything you want to put on the calendar, just get to Rhonda or me or Cindy, and we'll put it on the calendar. So, all righty. Well, once again, thanks a lot, and have a happy holidays. Bye bye.
Okay, Merry
Right.
Christmas.
Thank you, Rod.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all.